Well, with me today is Joe Riotto, and he was just inducted in the traditional Bowhunters Hall of Fame yesterday afternoon. It's an honor.
Honor to be here.
I thought that the event went better than expected. It was exciting. It was emotional and kind of dramatic. And could you just tell us a little bit about when you first heard about being inducted into the traditional Bowhunters Hall of Fame?
I first heard about the suggestion to be nominated was about a year ago. I received a phone call from your president, T.J. Conrad, and he outlined the traditional Hall of Fame, and he said, we'd love to have you submit if you could find someone to nominate you. And my first reaction was, you're really not talking about me.
Yeah.
I was in shock. He actually called me again a little while later and said, no, it was real. And if I could find someone, they'd like that. And he directed me to the website to look at the application. And I said, I'm not comfortable going to a friend and say, hey, nominate me for this, will you? But in the end result, there was once one of my friends found out about it, he just thrown at the opportunity. And I submitted the application. The whole concept of the traditional Hall of Fame, I think, is wonderful and somewhat overdue, long overdue, because it will be giving recognition to individuals who have, over the decades past, present, and hopefully in the future, will help perpetuate this this whole community, this whole culture, this whole lifestyle.
Okay. Wow. That's great. Yeah. It was very moving to hear from everybody who was inducted. And I guess the thing that I was impressed with was you kind of have the same line of thought, which was you're all humble people who don't necessarily lack the limelight, but it was pretty obvious in hearing about all of you and yourself included, and all your efforts in New Jersey and other parts of the region there, is that you've provided the backbone not only of who we are as traditional archers, but created those opportunities for us to have archery seasons and hold on to archery seasons.
Well, within the whole traditional community as a whole, within the center, there are groups, and obviously the Traditional Hall of Fame is going to be one of those groups that helps to promote that. None of the inductees yesterday afternoon, 40, 50 years ago, myself included, when we were active in what we were doing, none of us had in our mind that we were doing it for an award to be received in 2026, 2025. We were doing it to protect a passion that comes from within us that's very hard to describe to certain other people, and to protect a way of life and perpetuate this lifestyle so that our children and grandchildren can enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have any suggestions as to how we can get the word out better about Traditional Bowhunter Hall of Fame? I mean, we need to spread the word more, because we are really searching around not only the United States and Canada, but the rest of the world for people who, in their own arena, have accomplished the sorts of things that you've accomplished.
Well, as a retired commercial real estate broker, what I think you're asking me is how can we market the Traditional Bowhunters Hall of Fame? And it's simply a matter of exposure, and you need to choose the vehicles of exposure correctly. Of course, the Traditional Bowhunter magazine is the primary vehicle for that.
Yeah.
However, I think communication between the Traditional Bowhunters Hall of Fame and each state's, specifically traditional organization, if they have one, if not each state's bowhunting organization. Just flyers, please make this announcement at your annual banquet. For example, although I'm from New Jersey, my heart is a lot in the Catskill Mountains of New York.
Yeah.
I'm a life member of the New York Bowhunters. They have an annual event. It sometimes is only an elaborate picnic, depending on attendance. But I think if you communicate directly to state organizations, again, traditional first, otherwise generally, there are a lot of them that don't know about you yet. I think by sharing some of this information with other high-profile organizations, I'll just jump to Open Young Club, because I know you've exposed the traditional Bowhunters Hall of Fame to the content group. And so if you just expose it a little bit to the Open Young Club, which is also an international bowhunting organization, slightly different objectives, slightly different community, slightly different society, but they're bowhunters. That might be an interesting bridge to gap.
That's good advice. Well, great. So, in terms of the future of traditional bow hunting, today's world of just ever increasing technological influence on virtually everything related to the outdoors, do you see traditional bow hunting thriving as we look into the future? Do you think there's going to be an opportunity for us 20, 30, 40 years from now?
Well, I will tell you that this morning my crystal ball got a little foggy. I know that traditional archery, the concept of traditional archery, is growing everywhere I go. And not because I'm going there. So I think the concept of traditional archery is going to grow. One of the primary reasons when I talk to people about, gee, are you having fun in that? Why did you do this? I find a lot of people are trying to escape from the technology that's driving the outdoor pursuits. A lot of people are saying, why am I so dependent on technology? Woodsmanship is not taught anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
You look at the scouting and things like that. It's not taught anymore. And I think that the general public, especially the non-hunting public, which in many instances several of us have had to educate, is the middle of the road people that are, when they find out that a lot of the hunting is done for the actual consumption of game, then it has a different flavor. Oh, you're not just doing this to put an animal's head on the wall. And there's a movement universally to eat healthier. And when you talk about free range and organic, people paying more money in the supermarket for animals that were raised free range and organic. What better example of free range and organic meat is there than venison?
Yeah.
So by taking out the middleman, meaning the supermarkets, people can understand this better and have a better understanding of the conservation aspect.
Wow, that's very well stated. How many years have you been bow hunting?
Technically, I've been legally bow hunting since I was 14,
Yeah.
which was the minimum age for someone to buy an archery license in New Jersey in that decade. Technically, I've been a licensed bow hunter for 70 years. Actually, I started shooting a bow and arrow when I was a Cub Scout in 1949.
Wow.
And shot bows and arrows. Learned about self-taught about bow hunting. And I did bow hunt a little bit before I was legally licensed. In those days, going into the empty lot down at the end of the block, chasing rabbits with a bow and arrow was not frowned upon. So I've had a bow and arrow in my hand for, just about 78 years.
I thought it was very impressive that you had your first hunting license that you showed at the induction ceremony.
Yes, that's on the front page of my, that was a copy.
Okay.
The real one is on the front page of my first scrapbook.
Yeah, that's
That
good.
was 1956.
Yeah, that was.
Number 881.
Yeah, that's great.
For the state of New Jersey.
So let's talk a little bit about engaging youth, mentoring, and obviously in the Professional Bowhunter Society, knowledge through experience. Probably we're involved in creating that piece. But could you talk a little bit about getting youth engaged?
There's actually two different sections of youth that we need to get engaged. The first section of youth that we need to get engaged is getting them engaged in archery. And as soon as that bond is there and that love is there, it's an automatic, it's almost a reflexive step towards bow hunting. In the United States, there's a program called NASPA, National Archery and Machining Sports, where we can get grants to give archery equipment to schools, elementary schools, grammar schools, and they teach archery. Those are the perfect students to be exposed to bow hunting at the same time. Different states have different requirements, and that's what makes it a little clumsy that all the states don't say, okay, you can all start bow hunting at 12. So there's a different point of entry, a legal point of entry. But I think if you teach kids archery, automatically you're going to end up teaching the same kids bow hunting. And I don't think it should happen when they're 3 and 4. I think that personally, this is a personal opinion, I think the public is being a little bit misled by some of these television shows that show basically infants 3 and 4 years old out hunting. A child that age really can't concept what's going on. I think it has to be at a little older age, maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, where the youth can understand a little better what's going on. I think that's the perfect age to start them, but that's only one man's opinion. I have taught archery to start with, to hundreds and hundreds of scouts, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts in New Jersey. And usually, at some point in the second or third lesson, they come and ask about bowhunting on their own.
That's great. When we were looking at the evaluation of your application, it's like, oh my cow, this guy really educated and informed a lot of people in the world of archery.
Yes, well, I wouldn't submit an application. I wouldn't make a claim that didn't have a piece of evidence to go with it.
That's fantastic. So, in terms of now, let's talk maybe on a little different topic here, relating to and it again gets back to youth, and it pertains to their fascination with electronics, their removal from the outdoors, and helping get them away from that. There's a lot of wonderful young people. And we look at them and, they're just focused on their phones, and there's so much untapped potential with those people if they just have the exposure to the outdoors. And I'm talking even a little broader than just traditional archery, because we're going to have people engage in traditional archery first that they'll have an interest in the outdoors and an appreciation and respect for the outdoors when we do our activity. Could you talk a little bit on that line, kind of a conservation type?
Well, I didn't know 10 minutes ago that you were going to ask that question. But it was 10 minutes ago, I believe, that I said they don't teach sportsmanship anymore. I think that's exactly what I said. And I think that today's youth has to have exposure to the outdoors. Now, I'm not going to give parental advice and tell people how to take these electronic toys away from their children. I'm going to say, in addition to that, just expose them to the outdoors someplace. Take them on a hike in a park. Take them on a camping trip. If you're not capable of taking them on a camping trip, enroll them in some other group where you trust the supervisors, like, for example, Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or a 4-H club. Let your child get exposed to some of these other things, and they'll see there's more to self-entertainment, and I might even say self-esteem, self-gratification, than playing a game with their phones. I wouldn't hesitate to guess that if you take kids outdoors, 35% of them will want to continue doing that on their own, even by playing outdoor sports. I think that is a key to, ties in with one of your earlier questions. I think if you get more children outdoors, the normal transition will be for them to be interested in more outdoor activities, which will lead to their request for greater involvement in the outdoor sports, and that'll bring them right into archery and bowhunting. Bowhunting will become, in my opinion, more acceptable as the general public, not the hunters, not the anti-hunters, the general public in between begins to understand that it's a matter of conservation, it's a matter of wildlife management, and it's a great way to get free-range organic meat into the freezer.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. So obviously, looking in your application, been looking at a lot of pictures of your various game species. And what's been your favorite animal to hunt?
when I hunted last.
Yeah, when you look what else.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, I suppose I have to think long and hard on that. But every outdoor experience, every hunting experience, whether it's successful or not, is an adventure. It's a conquest. I was just a couple of hours ago sharing an experience with someone where I was hunting mountain goats in British Columbia at 14,000 feet, and I heard the scream of an eagle. And as you all know, when eagles are in flight, they sometimes scream with flush game. And I'm looking like this and looking like this, and I can't see the eagle. And I looked down the valley I was overlooking, and I saw the eagle soaring in flight. So here I am with my feet on the ground, looking down on a bald eagle in flight. That was the most wonderful experience of that trip.
Yeah.
You know, whether I shot a mountain goat 2 days later or not was not as important to me as that was. I think because white-tailed deer are more abundant in the United States or in North America, but in the United States, it is the most pursued animal, and most people have more experience with that. I'm glad that my Lord doesn't ask me to make a decision between hunting white-tailed deer and hunting black bear, because that'd be a very difficult decision for me to make. I enjoy hunting all animals, and I eat everything I shoot. So it's a difficult question to answer.
Okay. Yeah. I was surprised that it seems like, if I remember right, in your induction comments that you made, you talked about the new record bear being taken in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
That's pretty impressive. 600 and some pounds? Or...
Well, as you know, records are not established by the weight of an animal.
Right.
Records are established by a uniform measurement of the skull. There are black bear being harvested annually in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and now North Carolina, weighing more than 800 pounds. The skull measurement is what separates here. The world record black bear was shot in 1993 in the mountains of California. That record of 23 and 3/16 of an inch stood from either 1993 or 1996. I could go for that until 2019, when a larger black bear with a larger skull measurement was shot in New Jersey, and that one was actually 23 and 5/16. So it surpassed a record that had stood for over 30 years. There was no bear hunting allowed in New Jersey from 1970 until early 2000, 2003. Black bear became very populated in New Jersey. As a matter of fact, the black bear density per square mile in the state of New Jersey is the highest in the nation. And there's also a lot of houses there.
Well, a lot of people wouldn't realize it.
Right, they wouldn't realize that. So I actually worked a great deal in 2003 and 2004 to help establish the first firearm bears hunting season in New Jersey. And then I continued to work. I found a letter dated June 2000 to Governor Christy Todd Whitman, her letter to me, in which she said, we know you're actively trying to get a bear season in New Jersey, but we're not ready yet. And it took me 14 years to get a modern day black bear archery season in New Jersey. And the world record was killed in October 2019 with that skull I measured. The body weight on that bear was in excess of 700 pounds, but heavier bear, much heavier bear, had been shot and weighed, but the skull measurement was less.
Yeah.
The heaviest bear I personally saw weighed in New Jersey when I was at the weigh station was 829 pounds. There's a bear that was weighed in North Carolina that was 886 pounds. And these I'm aware of, and I can quote because I saw certified results.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So the new world record came from New Jersey in 2019, and it has stood since then.
That's impressive. I think a lot of hunters around the country would be surprised.
A lot of people in that room didn't know.
Yeah, I thought that was really a good piece that you put out there.
We put New Jersey on the map, yes.
Yeah, for sure. We sure did. Well, Joel, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's just an honor to visit with you.
My pleasure.
You know, fantastic.